All right, boys and girls, we are going to be learning how to watercolor paint. Your supply list is a watercolor set, a brush, a container of water, a crayon, a wash rag or paper towel. Okay, let's learn together. All right, boys and girls, we are going to be painting pine trees using a variety of green tone with watercolors showing different values of green, lighter green, green mixed with yellow, green mixed with a little blue. You're just going to need paper, a good brush, and something to mix colors on. I might give you a piece of plastic or a little lid. All right, boys and girls, here is a tutorial on how we could start this. Of course, your work doesn't have to look exactly like this work. Thank you. All right, boys and girls, when you get your paper, make sure your palette is near you, and we're going to be mixing a few greens together, adding a little blue, maybe a little brown, yellow, to get your shades in order. And we'll start with the top of the tree.
Some paint from the little pots of paint, get some water on your brush, and just transfer some of that color over to your palette. Then you can kind of mix the colors together as you work and you don't ruin your paint set. So we're going to start at the top of a tree. And you know, pine trees start out really skinny at the top and then they kind of get bigger as they come down, kind of like a rough triangle shape. And here I'm breaking this painting up into little individual rows. So every single row that you paint will get a little bit wider. Now, I think these trees look the most real, the most interesting, when each line is a little imperfect. Real trees in nature do not have the same color from top to bottom, every leaf, every little bit of their branches. So I'm just dipping into the paint that's on my palette tray there, and every time I just let my brush pick up a little bit of different color. You can see when you paint each row, I'm just kind of making like a little scribbling motion with my brush, back and forth. I'm not worrying about each row being perfect, because the more perfect it looks, the less real it actually looks. Just building one row after another, let each row kind of blend with the row that you did before. That's just fine. So one thing that I want you to consider as you're painting, these are watercolor paints. So I use the word, I'm scribbling with my paintbrush, kind of a back and forth motion as I work my way across those rows. As you're scribbling though, you want to be sure that you have plenty of water on your brush so that your brush doesn't look frayed and your edges of your brush kind of going every direction. Just keep dipping that brush back into the water so that those lines that you're making, even though you're kind of going up and down, kind of a scribbling motion, so that they have enough water for that paint to flow freely from one space to the next. That's an important part of watercolor painting, is always making sure that your brush has plenty of water. So now I have a little bit of dark brown on my brush, and I'm going to go back in. Even though my green is not yet dry, I'm going to go back in and just kind of give a little hint of a tree trunk that might be peeking through those branches. Now, because my green is wet, those colors may run and blend a little bit, but that doesn't bother me. I kind of like that effect. I'm going to add some little kind of squiggly lines at the bottom with that brown, and you can see the green kind of has run down into that. If that bothers you, just wait until your green is dry, and then you can easily pick up some brown and add it in without them blending together. So I just got a little bit of a duller green on my brush there from my palette, and I'm going to show you quickly how easy it is to make some of these trees that might be further away. I'm still doing the same thing, adding in little rows, but this time, because the tree is so far away, there are no real details, just kind of a suggestion of those rows of branches back and forth. Because they're far away, we can't see as many details, so that actually makes your job of painting them a little bit easier. Just adding in a little bit of color here and there can make a big difference so that you have more than one color in your tree. Just a few little suggestions of branches is really enough to create that illusion of a tree. Now, just like before, I'm going to pick up a little brown on my brush. Because these trees are so tiny, there's not a lot of space to add the tree trunk, the brown up through the tree trunk, but I did go ahead and add in a little bit of brown for the actual stump of the tree. So you can kind of play with that a little bit using different colors, maybe more vibrant colors for up close and duller colors for further away. Now I'm going to get a really, really pale color. This is kind of like a gray. I'm going to add in a little bit of blue on my palette here. You can really use any color you want for this, but it needs to be a watered down color. That means a tiny bit of paint and a lot of water. And I'm just going to paint a little bit of a ground line around my tree to give the suggestion that the tree isn't floating in the air, that it's actually sitting on the ground. Maybe some snow-covered ground in this case because of my bluish gray color. But really, you can use any color you want. Maybe your tree is in green grass and you want to use some green. And then in order for that to fade out, just get some clean water on your brush and just keep painting with the clean water and it will blend with the color and just kind of all blend together really nicely for you.